Some are wondering what may be going on today on June 1st, 2025 Sunday. But before I explain today, what I'm doing today on June 1st, 2025 Sunday, yeah, that video you saw before I played the intro, well, just the 3500 running over a bad Xbox controller on April 16 of this year. I believe it was on a Wednesday. Yeah, so what was up with that? Why did I show that? Well, I wanted that to be a Suburbanator 91 first, a YouTube short, but I took the video with this camera not realizing that one of the requirements to be a YouTube short is that it has to be that vertical layout, you know, as if you took it vertically with a cell phone. I did not realize that, so I'm like, well, I guess I'll just have to show that clip in the next video. Now on with the next question of, how do I have this chain full hooked with this Cub Cadet? And I know I have shown these a couple of times in the past, these rigging systems I've made, the straps of the bow shackles. Well, I'm going to finally show it in action today. Mentioned it many times. People have asked me about it, so now I get to show it. I got to swap out the blades on the Cub Cadet. Can only sharpen them so many times, and no matter how many times I might survey the land and all that stuff, we always hit a frickin' rock, one way or another. So, here are the new blades. Got these for about 35 bucks now. Are they going to be as good as the OEM ones for 90 bucks? I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Now, maybe the metallurgy is a little on the subpar side. Maybe you won't be able to sharpen the blades as much, but when one considers that this thing is already 16 years old, I don't know what's holding that lawn deck together. I know I've mentioned in the past we're pretty close to just totaling out the lawn deck and semi-retiring the tractor, so it could be just a puller tractor, get a new lawn tractor. I know I mentioned that in the past, but yeah, the lawn deck's still intact, so we're just going to go with some cheaper blades. And, you know, if these are even just semi-decent, hey, I don't just buy some new ones every year, because I'll have to get 3 of these before I add it to the price of what one set of OEM ones cost. The most important attribute is here. This conforms around the blade. I know I'm in a shadow here. There we go, better lighting. You know how you don't want to wail on a 6-point nut with a 12-point wrench because you're only grabbing it by the points, not by all the faces? It's the same thing when you use this universal crap. But this is actually how the spindles are shaped, so you don't risk stripping your spindles. As long as it does this and it conforms around them properly, that's what matters, or at least to me anyway. You know, I can give a crap about the rest of the blade, especially I found these, you know, literally 3 times cheaper. So let's slap them on and see what it does. There we go. Okay, guess that's good. Alright, so I got her up in the air. Got a little lighting under the deck too. 24mm socket. Let's just... There we go. Another side. Ooh, that's a gnarly one right there. And there's something wrapped up here. Yikes. That'll put up quite a fight right there. What the hell? Oh, now that's off. Now I just clean the threads and grease the grease fittings. Alright. Some things I just couldn't do while holding a camera. So anyhow, here's what I wanted to show you. So right over here, okay, you want to make sure it's nice and clean here, or the blade's not going to go nice and flat against this surface and properly engage the spline. So I'm going to clean the threads of any Loctite. You should use red, but blue will also do. Given that Cub Cadet doesn't recommend you use either, so if all you got is the blue, that's fine. I'm using the blue today. I usually use the red. So you want that blade to go flat. Now this one here, That one doesn't have a grease fitting. I don't know why. I know that entire assembly had to be replaced, and hey, you know what? That's what was put in now, so it was put in, but not all of them have grease fittings. This one did. That's just some more of the preliminary work I did off camera. So I wire wheeled it, or wire brushed it rather. Cleaned some brake cleans so not injecting crap. It was also going to be hard for me to hold that grease gun while I also greased on the camera. So that's why I did this one already, to give you an idea of what it should look like. You not only see some grease coming out of here, but I'll show you on the other side over here, where you should also see grease coming out of. There's like a little relief hole on this side. And yes, I will clean this up before I put the tractor in service. But once you start pushing grease, and I was also pushing out some water too. And I do this every year, by the way. Yeah, so good thing I'm doing this now. I like to use the red high temperature grease. And then, obviously, the lighting's not too good in there. But it's going to be the same story for the middle one. So, let's get that done. Alright, so I did a few other things off camera. Tried to get some better lighting under here as best as I could. So, about to put the blade on. I'm going to show you how that goes. Obviously, you want this to be facing upwards here. I'll show you in a second the other blades. Here's what I was talking about. You see, you want to make sure this is nice and engaged. This is conformed. This is what I was talking about. See, it conforms nicely. All faces, just like a 6-point socket and a 6-point nut. And then obviously, I'm going to take this. Now, you have to let it fall out for a bit while you try to screw this nut on. Yeah, that's fine. But obviously make sure you're properly tightened, that you're not just tightening against the spline and not engaged. So obviously give it a little spin. See, I'm nicely engaged. I know I'm engaged now. I'm just going to... There we go. Just like that. And obviously, now you're not going to pick it up too well here. But you would look above, you'd shine a light in there. Oh, I got my light right here. You would see a gap if you were crooked or not engaged, but it's all nice and flat. That's what I was talking about earlier, about making sure that you clean that surface well. So this is engaged well. My gun was set to not full power, but the one under it. That'll be adequate enough. It'll be not tight enough that it won't fall, but not so tight it's going to damage anything. Although I think I'm going to have to get a new nut for that one. But anyhow, that's how I put the blades on. And someone asked me, oh, what about the steering? I think these are kingpins. But yes, I made sure I addressed those as well as the wheels. So that's all the grease fittings, and that's the new blades of the Cub Cadet. I think it's time to let her down. So just let the Cub Cadet down. The habit I always get into when I use chain falls is I bring the hook all the way back up towards the chain fall. So that way that chain doesn't get tangled up in these other chains. Especially the longer chain fall. And my fellow elevator men watching this will know what I'm talking about. But that's just always a habit I get into with chain falls when I'm done with them. And for my next act, I am going to do an oil change on the 3500, but I do got to take her out for a quick spin first, because I've noticed here, yes, Blackstone. Finally sending out that lab sample that I mentioned in that video where I did the oil, where I cut up the oil filter. Everything looked good on a macroscopic scale, but I am still hearing noises from the valve train. I am making note of that as I send the papers out for the sample. So let's go take the 3500 out for a quick spin, get everything all good and hot, all that other good stuff. It is actually recommended by Blackstone to get the oil nice and hot. So let's do that next. So I'm out for a spin. I stopped at my usual watering hole where I have my fountain Coca-Cola, my 50-50 blend of diet and regular. So some are wondering what might be going on here. Now for my explanation of what in the actual hell has been going on. Yeah, I know. I made my Sunday drive video back in March, and then I went quiet for a bit. long story short, we're still finishing up a mod job up north. Took a bit longer than we wanted, but hey, that's just how it is, you know. Our MO's always been, dealing with a duplex, do one elevator, maybe go a weekend tops, we jump on the next one. But on that particular job, the customer didn't want us to start the second one right away. And we weren't really anticipating it. We do other things at our company, and we kind of told our obligation, like, okay, we might have to stop here and there because now we didn't jump on the second one right away like we anticipated. So, there was a snowball effect. We warned them that, okay, they were totally cool with that, and that's our thing, we give the customer what they want. They want something done fast, but right, of course. We always do it right. Hey, we'll burn the midnight oil. They want us to stop, we stop. That's just how it is. And then, there's the other things you can't foresee. It's always when you meet old with new. You don't exactly know what you're walking into. I only want to disclose so much, but, these are fairly old buildings, built between 76 to 78, depending on the building. And we're now just putting some nice ESIs in them. Nice non-proprietary ESIs. And that's pretty much what we're doing. And anything else that ensues. Sometimes at the mercy of the building. A bunch of other things. Like I said, I don't really want to disclose a whole lot. But the thing is, it just takes time. Nothing is as straightforward as it seems, or anybody could do my line of work. So that's all I really wanted to mention there. That's what's been going on. Obviously, you just saw me fix a Cub Cadet. I'm still in one piece, so all is well. Didn't die in a fiery explosion, nothing like that. So hopefully we'll be done this week, and we can all go about our merry business, and hopefully we'll squeeze in a few more videos before the year is out. I'm going to try to do some kind of YouTube short. I just need to learn all the rules of YouTube shorts, something my brother could probably help me out with. Guess I better get this here 3500 back home and begin the oil change. Okay, so we're back from our spin, if you will. Oil's been draining. So here we go. Blackstone Labs. This is what came in the black container. Maybe a little oil sticker, be filling that out. Here's your sample bottle. Yep, that went surprisingly smooth. No backsplash or anything. I was ready to make a mess and curse my brains out. Thankfully, didn't get to that point, so still hot. So I'm going to let that cool down. I'm going to package that up nicely, put it in its prepaid package, and then probably send that out tomorrow. And then after take out the old oil filter, obviously, yes, I'll be filling it with the usual suspects. My AM's Oil Signature Series 0W40 with a factory OEM Mopar MO339 oil filter, which one way you can tell if I did my own oil change is I already labeled the filter. 145K, 625 to mean June of 2025. So let me go upstairs, take care of a few papers, and then I'll be wrapping up this oil change. Alright, been about an hour or so, just had to take care of some things upstairs. So there's the old oil filter. I'm not crawling to show you where I put the new one in there, but the new one's in. There's the old one. There's the first 4 quarts of the liquid gold going in. I already made a video on putting AMSOIL in this truck, so not going to bore you guys with that again. And finally, the last of the 7 quarts of the liquid gold to complete this oil change. Well, here's the 3500 back outside again. Oil change is complete. I just have to rotate the tires now and clean the wheels before I do that. Not going to show that here because, well, this video is already probably long enough already, and there's already a million and one auto detailing videos that do and show that stuff better than I can. So for this rotation, putting the back to the front to the back. So I did it crisscross last time because I can't safely get all 4 wheels off the ground with this behemoth. Yeah, you should be doing a rearward cross, but if you alternate between same side and crisscrosses while you keep a service log and make note of what type of rotation you did, it gives you the same end result of each tire sees each corner at one point or another, and usually by the 4th rotation you're back where you started from. That's how I handle it on this beast, because again, I just don't have the space to safely get all 4 wheels off the ground. So that's it for the 3500 for today. As always, any and all input is greatly appreciated. And yes, I will leave a link in the description to the lawnmower blades I put in the Cub Cadet today, as well as the video game controller that does work very well for me, or it's served me well since I ran over that other one. So I'll leave those links in the description. Be safe out there. Have a great day. And don't be a stranger.